So this time on Tech Tuesday, I'm going to show y'all oil change on the Outlander XXC 1000. Alright, for the Outlander, this is what we're going to use for the oil change kit. XPS engine oil change kit. You get the weight oil depending on where you live, temperatures and such as that. Each kit is made for whatever motor is in your vehicle. This is 500 or more V-twin. Since the Outlander is a 1000 V-twin, this is the kit it gets. So know what motor is in your machine, get the proper kit for it. Comes with a new oil filter. Super simple design. What's really awesome is it has a preload spring on the inside to keep it sealed against the cover, but also against the motor. Nice. I've dealt with some dirt bikes in the past. The spring was on the outside, it'd fall off, you'd lose it. Great job on that oil filter. Of course, a new oil filter cover O-ring, because yeah, they wear out and they get nicks and cuts in them, so might as well have a fresh one. Also, 2 drain plug washers. They give you 2 because it depends on what motor and what drain plug size you have. So just match the washer up. You always want a new drain washer or squish washer or sealing washer, whatever you want to call it. These are made out of either aluminum or copper, and when you torque a drain plug to the proper torque, it slightly squishes it, therefore making a good seal and also holding the proper torque. So if you use it more than once, you've lost the squish out of it. So always put a new one. Then you got your oils, roughly 2.5 quarts. You'll dump your first 2 and then do your top off with this last little one, run it a little bit, and then top it off for its final top off with the little guy. Of course, I advise having some rags around just in case. I don't know, if you can change oil and not get oil on the hands, on your floor, on everything else, let me know, because I can't change oil on anything without getting oil on everything. I always advise having a flashlight, these little handy plastic rivet pliers for getting the little plastic rivets out. Those are awesome. A little Torx bit for getting a little Torx screw out that holds plastic on. 8mm sockets and a 17mm socket. This is for the drain plug. These are for the oil filter cover. I have one of each just in case to make it simple. And of course, you're going to want a drain pan. So the big bolt hole right there in the skid plate, straight up is a 17. That's your drain plug for the motor. Pull it out, let all the oil drain. So after we've pulled the drain plug, pull our filler cap out. That way everything flows nice. Up here is where your oil filter is. You can take the inner cover in here out also. It's like 6 push pins to get that inner cover off. In reality, you don't really have to. It will fit in between here. You can get a socket in there, a deep well on 2 of them and a shallow on the other. So you can work it all from right here and not have to take a whole bunch of plastic off. There's your cover, so you're going to clean it up. That's where your O-ring goes. Get a fresh O-ring on there. Of course, your little screws, when you put them back on, they're roughly only about 7 foot-pounds. So that's why I say a little socket. Don't over torque them little guys. And then your oil filter. Now you can inspect it. You're not really going to see much on it except for oil. If you see metal on it inside or outside, you've got bigger problems in an oil change. But this one looks great. So you'll discard this with your used oil. And we'll show you right quick. So here's your drain plug. Drain plug has a magnet inside of it. It's going to have a little bit of sludge on it. That's normal. It might have a little bit of, like, kind of looks like fuzz, especially on a brand new machine. Brand new machine, first oil change, it'll have a little bit of fuzz. That's relatively normal. It's all the gears meshing together, and you know, metal's kind of binding together and kind of seating together, so it's gonna attract all the little bit of metal on here. Now if you've got big chunks on here, like I said, you got a bigger problem. There's your little aluminum sealing washer. That one's junk. Get your fresh new one, slide her on there, and that's all there is to it. Screw it back on. Be sure to torque this to the proper torque spec. Look it up in your owner's manual. I'm not going to make any kind of crazy claims. It's not crazy tight, I can say that. So torque this and torque your oil filter bolts. And then you have your new O-ring that goes on your cover. All Alright, so just a note, when you take the cover off, it's going to make an oily mess. Make sure your drain pan is kind of spaced under and it's going to get all that. There's really no way to prevent that. It's just going to make a mess. You're going to have to spray it off some degreaser or brake cleaner or whatever and get all that clean. Take your oil filter, use a little bit of grease or some of the motor oil that dripped out of the motor, put it on your seal. Same thing with the O-ring around the cover. A little bit of grease, a little bit of oil, whatever you want to put will help everything seal nicely. So this will fit in just like that. And then it's very simple. You just push it up until it seals and it sticks, and there it is. Same thing, slide your cover on. Make sure it's good and square. Slide on, push it and hold it on by hand, and then start your bolts. Get your bolts snug by hand. Make sure it's good and square, and then tighten them evenly. If you start tightening one without the others, you just set up there and start tightening. It'll twist up, and then it'll go in and it'll cut the O-ring, and then you'll have a leak right out of the gate. And then you'll have to go get another O-ring. So make sure you put this on, slide it on nice and square, and push it all the way until it seals. Then run your bolts in by hand, all of them evenly, until they're holding the cover on nice, and then torque it down with the ratchet. So once you get your oil filter back in all snugged up, I spray it down with a little bit of brake cleaner or contact cleaner. You can also use some degreaser or whatever, and then get it all good and clean and dry. And basically get you a funnel and dump your oil in. Myself will dump the first 2 quarts, take a check, a little top off from here, then run it, and then the final top off. So with a rag nearby, put your dipstick in, pull it out and check your level. So right now we're a little bit above the full mark. So we'll start it up, let it run for maybe 15 seconds just to cycle the oil through the motor and through the filter. Also, watch for any leaks around the O-ring, and then we'll recheck the oil. So now after running the motor for a few seconds, you can see our oil level is well below the lower line. So we'll finish topping her off with that little half quart right there. So after adding about half of the little bottle here, we got her full topped off, dipstick plugged back in, tightened up where it goes, everything looking clean. Put our drain pan up. Now we're going to put our covers back on. This big cover, it's relatively easy to get off. It's a little harder to get back on. The best way I find is set her over the shifter, kind of realign everything up here where it goes first. Kind of get it all slid in at the same time. Then try to wiggle the back in. Of course, that little tab goes inside. That little tab goes under. And it all just kind of slides together just like that. This little guy goes inside here. Kind of wiggled it nice and forward, so you see it's all kind of lined up where it should be. That's where your little torque screw goes. And now the back, you can kind of flex it out and slide it all in. Put your push pins in. Then put your covers on right here where they go. Throw your seat on, and you're ready to get out and ride.